Dylan McLaren, Interactive Media Strategist at Troika. Welcome to the Red Zone.
Hi Sabrina, thanks for having me.
Now, you say that new technologies offer unique media opportunities for brands to captivate specific targeted audiences. Can you explain this a little bit more for us?
Absolutely, yes. I think that innovations and the advent of things like wearable technologies, which will be technologies that people have on their person at all time, will completely revolutionize the way that brands and marketers speak to consumers, or as we like to call them, users. This is because although you have a smartphone that you have on you at all times, suddenly with wearable tech, that technology is so pervasive that it's with you at every given moment of your day. And consistency is the new buzzword online, and marketers will have to take cognizance of this and understand that they will be in consumers' faces at any given moment, and they need to be careful about how they communicate and obviously take advantage of the opportunities afforded to them by these new technologies.
Now, the next craze in technology, you mention wearable technology like Google Glass and iWatch. What exactly are they, and won't they become a nuisance?
Interestingly enough, the first piece of wearable tech was an abacus ring, which somebody could wear while they were shopping in the 16th century in China. And in modern days, this technology has become things like you mentioned, Google Glass, the iWatch, Samsung Galaxy Gear, which is coming out at the end of October in South Africa, retailing at probably around 5,000 Rand, which is a complementary device that connects to your smartphone. The iWatch is Apple's big watch. They have filed the trademark for the word iWatch, but there's lots of rumors stirring around online about when it's going to come out. And Google Glass is a mounted device that you wear on your head that has a small prism in front of your eye that can communicate with you and that you interact with the world with, providing augmented reality experiences and obviously fascinating new media spaces for brands to consider getting onto.
There are these big brands that are doing the wearable technology, like you mentioned, Apple. But what can other brands do to ensure that they remain relevant when it comes, or when you think that innovation and adaptation are the two key factors in this new changing landscape?
I think that you hit the nail on the head. It is about adapting and being innovative. Adapting obviously means keeping your ear to the ground and making sure you know what's coming next. If you know that Google Glass is the next big thing, or there are reports that there'll be 100 million units of wearable tech shipped in 2014, the more optimistic folk like to throw around numbers like that. I think that brands need to be aware of what's coming and try and tailor their messaging to their users. I think the modern consumer or user is a different beast altogether, and they consume content on their own terms, and they hold brands to a much higher standard than they used to. And I think that you need to build experiences for them instead of just broadcast messaging. And that's why I believe it's about connecting with consumers and allowing them to connect with the brands in turn, and using these new media spaces for what they were created for. And as an example, I think that it would be far more effective to look at things like what Nike has done with Nike Plus. And they've built a fitness bracelet, which is a piece of wearable tech that enriches a person's life. Instead of just having a broadcast message on my Google Glass or my Samsung Galaxy Gear screen, your standard banner advertising, etc. I think that you need to build unique brand user experiences for people that add value to their lives.
Now, there's this buzzword flying around, big data. How will this new wearable tech play a role alongside big data when it comes to brands speaking to their audiences?
Absolutely, and it is a massive buzzword at the moment, notwithstanding the Edward Snowden scandal that's blown everything out of the water. I think the interesting thing for me, just first off, is that everyone knew this was happening. It wasn't a big surprise or revelation that there's massive amounts of data about everybody being stored by governments. But I don't know how much of an impact that's going to have on its relevance and effectiveness for brands. It's undeniable that if you're wandering through Sandton City or Rosebank and you walk past a jewelry store or a clothing store or a food store, and you've liked that store online, for example, and that data exists about you, obviously location services also activated on your smart device, these all feed into a very holistic mix of media types that will impact the way people experience brands, I think, in probably the biggest change over the past few years. We saw the internet revolutionize the way that brands communicated with consumers. I think wearable tech is a new cycle of technology impacting media, and that if I know that a woman is recently married and she's walking past a shop where she can buy bakeware and she's liked a bakeware, this is an example from a client I have actually, and she's recently liked a bakeware brand online, we can advertise to her in front of her face right then and there with Google Glass, for example. Or on a smartwatch, if somebody's walking past their favorite coffee shop and there's a cappuccino special, you can let them know about it immediately and instantaneously.
You're assuming that married women like to bake.
Indeed.
What other implications does this wearable technology have for the smartphone market?
There are far-reaching implications for the smartphone market, but I'm not sure it's exactly what everybody thinks it's going to be. This wearable technology has been around for a very long time, and many have tried before and many have failed. But the implications for the current smartphone market, the likes of Samsung and iPhone, are fascinating because they are actually pioneering the new wearable tech space. And the Samsung Galaxy Gear, for example, which is kind of the first one to come into the marketplace, I think it's going to mix things up completely again. It doesn't mean that the smartphone manufacturers are necessarily going to lose market share or profits a year in, but what it does mean is that they need to relook at what they're doing and revolutionize their manufacturing processes, because these devices at the moment interact with smartphones. So your Samsung Galaxy Gear watch doesn't have a SIM card in it that you can phone people on, but it does need a smartphone to complement its activity as a smart device. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch how, from a business perspective, these smartphone manufacturers grapple with that double-edged sword, because you don't want to alienate your own product line by creating wearable tech that doesn't need a smartphone to complement it. And at the same time, for me, you don't want to invest too much into building wearable technologies that don't take off, as we've seen from before. So I think the smartphone market needs to take stock of what's going on and be very careful with how they proceed. We've seen what's happened at BlackBerry, and that brings me back to what you said about innovation, that if you don't innovate, you can fall behind very quickly. You need to stay on top of your toes.
Well, innovation is key, and thanks for joining us, Dylan.
Thank you.